She's like, if he goes off on his own, that's cool, let him. But if he wants to be with you, just let him. And today I did that, and it was actually way better. He's had a few instances, but it was better.
Yeah.
And maybe just because I felt better, I don't know. But so I'm going to go with that for a while and see how he moves up in September. So
Hi,
I
Casey.
can make it. Hi, Casey.
I don't know if she sees us. Can you
make
see
a
us?
face? No,
so
definitely
weird.
not.
Here, let me send a chat. Oh, here comes Eugenia. Hi, Eugenia. Hey, Leslie. Hi. Casey, can you see us?
No, I don't know what's going on with my computer.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, but I don't know why my video is not working.
Well, we can see you, so don't do anything weird or embarrassing.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, pick your nose or your teeth. We see everything.
Said that. Thank you.
Well, Laura and I were just chatting. I just want to finish up and say, well, actually, this is good for whenever I think that's a good strategy to hold him, give him the extra love. Like whenever a child is acting, that's what you would do for anybody. And maybe there's a little sensitivity because he's your boy, and you don't want people to think that you treat him special. But
exactly,
he is. I mean, he's a teacher's kid, and he's got kind of a heavier burden than other children because whether it's spoken or unspoken, his behavior reflects on you as a teacher, and that's the way that it is when your kids are in your school. And they feel that, I believe. So if he needs something extra, just like any child would need something extra, then I would indulge it and give it, because once, like I carried a child around, we carried her around, you guys, oh my God, it was for so long. And I just kept thinking, are we what are we do? Is this good for her? And then like one day she decided that she didn't need to be carried anymore. And then she wouldn't even she'd be like, no, don't pick me up, or don't, she just moved through it. So hopefully that will happen with your guy.
Yeah, I'm going to buy one of those ring slings because he's killing me back right now. I need something to hold you. He's like 30 some pounds. He's a big boy, so.
I see you guys.
Yay!
Sorry.
Hello.
Continue.
Hello. Awesome.
I have to run and grab my power cord. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, it's right on time. It's 5:30. I'm doubtful that Dabika's going to join us tonight just because I thought that her email to me said that she was traveling today. So I was confused when she told us that she would join our chat, but we did get, somebody's on the phone. Is that you, Ann? Or is it Chris? Okay. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're just kind of getting started here. Checking in, seeing how things are going with everybody.
How'd it go today, Ann?
Oh, it was awesome. We had a great visit with Elaine.
Good.
So, we are combined. We have two classes that are relatively fluid. They kind of go back and forth to a certain extent. And combined, we had 7 children absent today. So it was a very quiet day. And it was excellent, though. And Elaine, of course, had most wonderful feedback for us. And I look forward to implementing some of the things that her and I got a chance to talk about today. And it's just a really great day.
Yay. That's awesome. Thanks for starting us off with that great question, Leslie. Yeah, totally. Elaine is wonderful. I'm really glad that you get to work with her. Did you guys all was she in your residency?
Yeah.
You know her? Yeah. She's pretty special. I think, Chris, did you join us on the phone too?
Yep, that's me.
All right. Okay, I'm getting the area codes down. Well, we have so it looks like there were a few people who prefer the Sunday chat, and Dabika said that she would honor that. So I don't know when she's going to fire it up, whether it's this Sunday or next Sunday. Well, you know what? I don't know how she's going to do the chat from the AMS conference, but I guess that'll be up to her to figure that out. Because we have a conference 2 weeks from Sunday. So. Anyway,
Oh,
so good to see you guys. Yeah.
Mercedes, if we'll be,
What's that?
yeah, so if we'll be at conference, if we're going to be at conference, do we do chat on Tuesday?
Well, I'm not flying into Denver until Thursday night, so I do plan on having chat. We don't have a bye week or anything, right? There's no breaks coming up, is there?
That's
Not that.
4 weeks.
I'll still be in Denver the Tuesday following chat.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can still jump in. It's not a big deal.
Well, it could be that's the week. I'll talk to Dabika and we'll try to make make it as easy as possible so that there's hey Wendy, kind of not that there's that we're synced up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the
Cool.
synced up. So awesome. Well, how's everybody doing? Somebody start us off. I actually was telling Laura, I'll start. How about that? The last couple weeks has been unbelievable. Like it's my program director's heart exploded, and I know that's not like her aorta basically disintegrated, which is a condition. She has a genetic condition, but her heart, we thought that it looked good, but she was at a party and had to be transported to the hospital, had open heart surgery, and thankfully made it. But it's been unbelievable in terms of my staff. I'm in like the middle of like a staffing crisis, and then like 2 days after she went into the hospital, I got one of my teachers was like, so this isn't for me and I'm going to be moving on. And I was like, great timing. That's awesome. Thanks, dude. But it's
best.
It would take a lot to surprise me. I don't know. Rashani, you work in the office, so you've probably seen a lot of, if you like, it's just now, you just it's.
I had an amazing teacher that we hired, and like amazing person, and then she did her fingerprints, she did everything, and then 2 days later we're getting a letter from the FBI saying she can't be.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh, that's never happened, but it wouldn't surprise me. That's terrible. Oh my gosh. So I'm excited to see everybody. And I have a lot of notes, but I also want to honor so there's a couple of Kathy's not with us joining us tonight, but her field consultants comes on Thursday, and you just had your field consultant so it's happening.
But
Leslie,
I haven't heard anything.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, I'll follow up.
I know Elaine was supposed to I think they're having a hard time finding a person around here. That's what it is, I think, Yeah.
You're in like LA. Like, no,
LA.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
But it's true though.
I refuse to believe it.
I understand because it's so hard to find Montessori teachers here. It's so hard to find Montessori. Like maybe in Orange County, yes, but I don't know. Even to hire people, it's crazy.
That
so I guess I have a question too about that too, because I haven't heard anything.
Oh, okay.
Like I haven't heard anything from anyone.
Okay.
I don't know who this. Maybe I did talk to Elaine one time on the phone, like way in the beginning.
Yeah, well, Elaine is your practicum advisor, and so she's the one I think who sets up all of your, like you cleared your practicum through Elaine probably, right? Did she help you guys with that?
I think so. I think I talked to her in December about. Yes, I think that's the lady. I don't know. I talked to her on the phone.
So Chris, you haven't heard from your field consultant. Rashani hasn't heard from hers. How about you, Wendy? When's your visit? Oh, Wendy, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Maybe she has me on mute. Well, I will send email. I'll send an email a little bit later, just saying, hey, what's happening? Can you check in with us? Tell us what's going on. So, all right. Any Eugenia, I was so disappointed that I'm not your field consultant. I guess they found someone a little closer.
I wish I had a field consultant, because the thing is that I don't have one, and we have to find. It was hard to find someone here in Costa Rica that could be my field consultant. So luckily for me, one of my best friends has the 0 to 3 training, so she's gonna be my field consultant. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
I hope that she's on. I mean, I think the hardest thing is being, when you're friends with somebody.
I know. No, but we work really fine together. So yeah. But yeah, me too. I had to ask Elaine like what was going on, and she got in touch with her yesterday, I think.
Oh, great. Yeah, I got an email, so it looks like everything's all happening, and that's super great. I'm stoked. And then Leslie, a couple weeks ago, you were getting some information to go in and talk to your teacher and your administrator, and how did that go? I saw that you were introducing some practical life, so it must have gone somewhere.
Yeah. I'm still getting some pretty hostile vibes from my teacher.
Oh no!
Hard. Yeah, she most days makes it pretty clear through her words and her actions that she doesn't want me there. But she has been welcome. Well, sort of. She's allowed me to introduce to work every month. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out. Did you see the look on my face? There's like an echo.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Twilight Zone.
Sorry.
Like reverb. All right.
Better?
Oh, there's Wendy. Okay. Hey.
Yeah. I couldn't get the audio on my computer, so I just went back to phone, and I think I had both on at once for a few seconds.
That was fun. Yeah, I was like, which one is it?
This is my phone now.
Which one should I look at? Okay, great. I'm glad that you are hearing us and that we are hearing you.
Finally.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Leslie was just sharing her sad tale of woe. That's I don't have any great. What do you do? What are you going to do?
Well, my perspective has changed, throughout. At first I was really positive that I could win her over, and I guess I haven't had too many people in my life that just really hated me, and there's nothing I could do about it. But I think I'm really working on my confidence. I think that's where I'm going with this, is that I have to be confident even if someone doesn't want me to do well. And I feel like that's been the biggest challenge, is that she is really threatened by me being in there, and seems to want me to do badly and speak badly about me. And so I just have to be confident. Like, I have to really learn these strategies and then practice them with confidence, and even though amidst adversity. So I'm working on my confidence and not worrying about what other people think of me. I mean, that's certainly been a lifelong issue for me. I do care what other people think, and in this situation I need to be focused on the kids and doing what I think is right, and being confident in that. So, and I am getting a chance to practice what I'm learning, at least small portions of it. And we don't have any movement analysis for any works in our class. So each week I've been writing up, and it was funny because I had planned to do this, and then as it turns out, our assignments are requiring us to write. So it's perfect.
Great. No extra work. Awesome.
Yeah. So as I'm as you guys are seeing my write-ups, those are the works that I'm introducing. So I introduce it on Tuesday mornings to like the whole group. Like we have a circle time, which I don't really, the kids don't love. It's not music, it's like calendar. And
oh my gosh, I just read an article about how that's like, there's no research that supports calendar or circle time.
And it's a very frustrating time for the teacher.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sure
they don't want to be there. Yeah.
Well, it's like it's some sort of weird like classroom management. And I will say that I've seen a lot of AMS classrooms, honestly, like AMS schools, like that's a really big thing, you know, the calendar and this long circle time. And I've never done that. I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to have a gathering, it's spontaneous. Like maybe I have a plan if I'm going to do like a group lesson, but it's my job to make it compelling. And if somebody doesn't want to go, well, okay. You know, you don't have to go. That's my failing, I feel like.
Yeah. And the teacher gets mad at me. She's like, why aren't you physically like restraining them, keeping them in the circle? And I'm like, because that's not my job. You got to make this fun. But I'm not saying that. But yeah. I'm like, really? You want me to force them to stay in circle? Are you sure that's what you're asking me to do? You know? So anyways, but
I'm sorry.
so you guys are helping me with my, you know, my write-ups, and that's, you know, any feedback on those, because I'm about to, you know, use them and present them and to a very skeptical audience. Not the children, they love it, but the teacher.
All right.
I'm glad it's self-directed. I just tell everyone else what to do.
I know.
Like, oh, this is what we're doing. We have to change this, guys. And they're like, okay, Laura, whatever you say, toddler whisperer.
I know. You moved to Portland and all. I would love you up. You would have, I'd be so valued. I would be lucky to have any of you, honestly. I really, Portland.
I don't think my boss would let me go at this point. Not after the $6,000 show.
Casey's like, take me.
I will be there tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Wendy, did your practicum, are you going to have your visit? That was what I had asked you a little earlier. Are you going to do your visit?
You're on mute, Wendy.
You have to unmute.
Unmute.
I can't unmute her. Unmute.
Oh, muted again.
Unmute.
I did.
All right.
Okay.
No, it's me. I'm trying to unmute you while you're trying to unmute yourself. And
I called Stevenson Red. You can call you?
Hi,
because we have 8 people off today.
Oh.
Hello, I'm back on the phone.
Okay. Well, Wendy's gonna tell us. You have your field consultant visit. Oh,
you're talking about Elaine coming to visit?
Something's going on today.
I know. Is Elaine your field consultant, Wendy?
Yes.
Oh, great. So you and Chris are close in proximity somehow? Are you in Virginia?
No, I'm in Iowa.
Oh, is she coming out to do your visit?
I don't know. She hasn't contacted me about that yet.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna I'll follow up and just kind of see what where we all are, because it's exciting, right, to have your visits. Anne just had her visit. The day went great, it sounded like. Rashani, what about you? Are you you haven't heard from anybody. I have a note.
So I've heard from Elaine. I've spoken to her about 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Like whenever I have issues, I call her and I talk to her.
Good.
But I haven't had a field consultant come in yet.
Okay.
Now, they were saying that the last minute for she was saying that she's trying to look for a person around. I don't know.
Okay.
You know?
I don't really I feel in many ways like I'm learning, kind of as I go. And you guys have been very patient with me, and I'm really like, a good resource when it comes to the material and like the philosophy and the pedagogy. But in terms of the organization and administration of the course, I think you guys might even have an advantage over me, because I jumped in the middle. So I'm learning all about how everything is working. I do know that you're doing a lot of work. Like, and even if I'm not giving you feedback about the things that you're posting in your journals and all of that, I want you to know that I do read it. I read it on my phone, and I don't have the Moodle on my phone, so I do a lot of reading it and less acknowledging the work that you're doing. But the work that I'm seeing coming from this cohort is really strong and really thorough and really robust. I think that, and I think it really speaks to, you know, your integrity. This is for you, you know, this is your training, and it's hopefully helping you become a better teacher but I want you to know that I am reading it, and I do acknowledge the amount of work that you're putting in. It's a lot.
I must say there are times when the workload just like gets me down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have like a year left. And then there are other times when I'm implementing things and changing things, and I'm just so amazed by it that I'm like, this is the most amazing opportunity ever. Like, I would have never just done this on my own if my boss hadn't been like, hey, you need this training, so I'm going to pay for it. You go do it. Like, I would have never done it. And I was also thinking the other day that I might cry when we no longer have these weekly chats. Oh. So if anybody wants to chat with me another time, you just let me know.
Do like a monthly thing, or, you know, like a reunion tour or something.
I kind of have a question. I have a question about the Observer's Notebook.
Yes.
Did we ever figure out anything about that? Because now the link that somebody sent me, I can't get onto it to buy it. And now that I'm doing all these observations, I feel like I'm doing them wrong.
You got to buy it, and they sent it here to Costa Rica. Yeah.
They sent it to you?
What's that?
Mm-hmm. Expensive, but yeah.
Well, what are you wondering about it, Chris? Like, we had a question about Enable. Was that it? Like,
he never responded to my email. I'll follow up with that too.
Well, I'm doing, like, I did my my hour-long observation today, and I just wrote down things that he did, and sometimes I would be like, I want to introduce this, or I want to work on this with him. But I don't have any of the forms, I guess. And am I supposed to be filling out like different forms each time? Because I do my 30-minute or my 15 to 30-minute observation also. And so I have one form for that, but it was like, I feel like it's just repetitive of like, not that I'm not learning anything from it, but I feel like I'm doing it wrong.
Well, he does have all those templates that went along with that.
The PowerPoint presentation with all the templates.
But I also am in the sort of the same boat. Like it's hard for me to come up with a connecting question a lot of times. So I'm just doing like running record, anecdotal note taking, running record, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then everything I see, then I analyze it, and then I think of things to implement, I guess. Because
Yeah. And then also like the environmental observation, that's every week we do that.
The environmental assessment,
Because I feel like do I need to change the classroom every week? I mean, I know that there's different things we're putting out, but I feel like I'm just sometimes writing the same thing every week, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm missing the boat on that. I guess is what I'm saying. Does anybody feel like they're repeating themselves? I mean,
mine is the same a lot.
Yeah.
But I think occasionally, sorry, Anne, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Occasionally something new sparks in my mind. I mean, just because the children change from week to week, even if our environment doesn't. So maybe like when it talks about how your classroom's supporting independence in particular, I mean, I almost always have something different to write in that area. Just depending on where the children are. Like, I'm like, so really is able to put on their inside shoes. I need to stop helping them. Like, I need to give them an opportunity to struggle through it. or, something like that. But yeah, no, we shouldn't be changing our environments weekly. That would be too much turnover. But yeah, mine's kind of
right. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like the beauty is the same. Or like,
Yeah.
I added one thing and it's beautiful, but so I just wanted to make sure that I'm not.
I don't think
I'm
so. I
doing the right
mean,
thing.
your environments are really going to remain like, I don't know, what, like 80% static. The children really thrive on novelty, the toddlers especially. So rotating material out, weekly, I don't think that that's a bad idea. Like to take out one Imbakari box and put in the next one, or just like we have a ton of different puzzles or blocks, manipulatives, different sensory motor materials, and so it's almost like the same concept but in a different, it just looks a little different. So trading those things out weekly I think would be great. And I think
and I do that.
Yeah,
I do that.
It's gonna be
and
static.
things like they haven't used in a long time, like if they haven't touched it in that week, then I take that off and replace it with something else with the same concept, kind of.
Yep.
But I don't have a lot of purchased materials from the curriculum, so I'm kind of having to make some of them. Like the one last week was, or maybe it's this week, I can't remember, the acorns with the number 3 and the different ways you can do 3. But I feel like sometimes writing it up, I can write it up, but like the next 2 weeks or last week and this week is parent-teacher conferences, so I'm doing, and then I'm the lead teacher too, so I do the teachers meetings, and I do before care, and I do my curriculum, and so I'm like feeling sometimes like I really want to put that material in there, but I don't have time to make it,
right?
Kind of.
Well,
So,
I think if you keep writing that in your self-assessments and your weekly, or environmental assessment, then you'll have like that note, and you can look back and be like, wow, I've said I was going to do this for 2 months.
Yeah.
I should probably get on it, because I've done that.
No, that's a
and I
great
tried to
good
I
idea.
had a teenage helper that comes in, that we have like I don't know what you call it. It's not a bad kids school, but they come and they live here and they go through like boarding school, and so they come and volunteer their time with us. But they're young kids, like 17. And so I had her cut out some pictures, and I was like, oh, you did it so wrong. But I was like, thank you. So, I don't know. I the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've just been like repeating stuff on my evaluations. And then I was like, really want to put that work out, but I don't have it. And so, all right. Thank you.
Well,
sorry, I'll be done complaining.
That's helpful. And what so when I have people that come into the classroom and want to like volunteer, or they want to help, something that I do is I give them my camera, and I'm like, take lots of pictures and,
that's
and
a good
document,
idea.
or I have them film for me. Like that lunchtime video is totally like somebody had some sort of assignment and they came in, and I was like, you can make a movie for me, because it's like it would take me so long to train, to like, this is how I want you to talk. I mean, we just we get to crack into language next. That's what opened up for us this week, and that's a huge, like, it's a huge thing for me personally, because there's the language on the shelf, and that's great, having that language material on the shelf, and that's definitely one of my favorite areas of the classroom. But what I'm most passionate about are the words that come out of our mouth and the power that they have to shape our reality. And so that's what I'm excited to talk to you guys about next week. And also, that's why it's hard to have people volunteer, because we have a really specialized language. And, I have this gal, and she's really helping me out. But, she's like she's never changed a diaper, and she's like changing one of the babies, and she's like, you have a stinky diaper, and like it's just, you don't think about that. And inside I'm like, don't go, anyway.
That's kind of where I'm at with this girl. I'm like, don't tell them that. Like she's playing hide and seek underneath the table with them at lunchtime. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to find something for her to do because this is all wrong. But I don't want to be like, she thinks she's being helpful and she's only 17. And I'm like, I get it, but get away from the table.
I know. Don't talk.
So, and then I felt like this week, because she comes Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for like 4 hours. And this week, I'm like, I feel like I am just giving her all the grunt jobs because I was like, could you clean the wall behind the food garbage? Like, could you clean out the refrigerator? Could you? So that's a good idea. I'll give her my camera and have her take pictures.
Yeah, she could do picture-to-picture matching or object-to-picture. She could make materials for that, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea too. She's gonna go.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I sometimes go through that with substitutes. We have a really hard time finding good subs and keeping them when we get them. They're like, oh, I found a full-time job. And I'm like, oh, you stink. We need it. What do you need a full-time job for? But I plan on like putting together like this intense course that I think substitutes should go through. The infant toddler substitute course.
I know. There will be a section on administration, and in that section will be how to work with assistants. And I believe, like, I went to Florida for the conference in the fall, and Terry gave us her assistant's handbook, which is a really wonderful resource. And it's also almost like doing a self-study because it's not going to be perfect for your school or your classroom. So you can go through and modify it. Like, it's a great template. And then it has some really awesome, so maybe you don't have to rewrite the whole book or write the whole book. It give you the bare bones of it. But
yeah, at residency, Tracy Hall shared her assistant's handbook too.
Oh, cool.
That was really helpful.
I bet that it's similar to
Terry's.
Yeah. I had a question come in email, and actually I wanted to I feel like I'm at this point where I'm like, oh, maybe you guys should tell me like what format works best for you in chat. And like, do you want to email me questions ahead of time so that I make sure to answer them? Or like how I know that my chats are typically a little informal. I do have notes, but I also want to honor the direction that the chat goes and like the questions that you have because you're in the classroom. Everybody's in the classroom right now. And I know that questions come up that seem urgent. So be thinking about that. But I did get a question in email and I wanted to address it and also invite you guys to send I can, my correspondence is gone. My time has gone a little bit down, and it might be a little compromised over the next week as well. But I will respond. Terry mentioned that we will have a whole week dedicated to music in our next module. So I'm excited about that. And I appreciated a lot of people gave me some feedback about the email that I sent with all the different links. It was probably overwhelming. There was a lot there. But hopefully you guys can work through it. And
yeah.
Was that helpful? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Music. Also language, right? So someone was asking about introducing the xylophone, and I wanted to just say that I have a pentatonic glockenspiel, and it's really beautiful. I know. So I'll send you. I know. It sounds all like fancy. It's okay. So the pentatonic scale is like the black keys on the keyboard, and if you can play them in any order, in any combination, it sounds great. It's not going to just sound like somebody's banging on on the bells or on a glockenspiel or on a xylophone. And so I'll follow up and I'll send you a link to it. They're not cheap. They're probably about $60 or $80. But I would say that it was a very good investment. They hold up really well, and it's a good like introduction to playing, you know, and you know, everybody loves to bang, and so they'll, you know, play it very vigorously, but it sounds like chimes or like a doorbell. You know, it doesn't sound like I am going to murder somebody and throw this thing out the window. So that's my advice. And I wanted to see if anyone else, I've also had like big wooden xylophones in the classroom, and with varying degrees of success depending on the group. But the glockenspiel, I also have a diatonic glockenspiel, which is just it's like a octave. So it's C, you know, it's just the notes. That is not as melodic, but you can play like songs on it, you know, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which you can also do on the pentatonic one. But anyway, I'll send you guys links so that you see the ones that I like. And then also does anyone else have a big glockenspiel or a xylophone or anything like that?
We have a small one.
Yeah.
It makes me wanna, you know.
Yeah, I do. I'm telling you.
Like, beat on it, and I'm like, and I look at them and I go, gentle, and then they go ding, 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 and then I look away and they go bang, 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 bang. So I don't even.
Well, these come with little rubber-tipped mallets, and so they're not like the hard plastic at the end of it. They're like rubber, so it's kind of muted and like soft and very melodic.
So
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I've taken rubber bands and put them over the top of, like, just a whole bunch of rubber bands over the top of the plastic ones, and it makes it pretty good.
No, that's a really good idea. Anyone else? Rashani?
I have a question. It's nothing to do with music,
okay.
But I'm a little confused. Not confused. Can you go over symbolic play versus pretend play?
What? Sorry, I didn't quite catch
can
that.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can. I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat?
Okay, so can you go over symbolic play versus pretend play?
You know, I think that the difference is that with symbolic play, you know, like children are given a material that is open-ended, so it's not directive. So like for example, I would say, and then with pretend play, it's like, you know, they're given a material like that's like, you know, dishes and like this here have a tea party and here's a little plastic tea set, as opposed to like a child taking, like, for example, nesting bowls off the shelf and bringing it to a rug, and then getting a basket of fruit and bringing it over to a rug, and then they're making fruit, you know, they're making a soup, you know, and they're pretending, or they're making tea. So that's how I would distinguish it. I don't know if anybody has any other ideas.
Because for me in my head, like in our schools particularly, like, you know, we don't do any pretend play, and so most of our teachers are like, you know, like they're used to the traditional system, and pretend play is a big deal for them, and not having babies in the room or not having any pretend play clothes and stuff in the classroom is like a big no-no in our centers. And now that I'm reading about this symbolic play, I feel like we can bring those things into the classroom. I just need to know, where do I draw the line from pretend play to symbolic play, you know?
I think so. I'm having a hard time hearing you, honestly.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm driving. I'm going to the canyon. That's probably what it is. So for me, I'm more like, for me, it's like this. In our schools, we don't do any pretend play at all.
No pretend play. Okay.
No pretend play at all, because they say that in Montessori there's no pretend play involved whatsoever. Now that I'm reading about symbolic play, it seems like you can bring these into the classroom. You can bring babies into the classroom. You can bring like tea parties and stuff into the classroom. So how do I differentiate? Like how do I differentiate it, and how do I tell them that? Like how where do I draw the boundaries? So this is the right thing and this is the wrong thing, kind of a thing, you know?
To me,
so I kind of.
We
talked about that, my director and I talked about that, and like when you incorporate like food and they're doing something real with it and like productive, but then like putting out the farm and putting out farm animals instead of like dinosaurs and rocks, because dinosaurs are something that they are not going to see, so that would be like more like pretend play versus, real live farm animals, because they're going to see, well, I guess if you're lived by a farm, I shouldn't say that because they're not going to see them. But here in Montana, you do see cows driving to school.
Symbolic play to me seemed more like if it was child directed. Like they chose to take the material and use it in a way that most adults would say, oh, they're pretending, they're pretending to make soup, like you said, Mercedes, but it's not like we put out a play kitchen where they're expected to pretend to make food. And,
right.
But if they, like I have a basket of like baking utensils, supply type things, like the sifter. I just found it. It's really cool. But and some spoons and whisks and just other things. And they take the basket out and they talk about all of what those things are. It's a language material. So they can name the objects, but also they will take it to a table with other friends and they'll pretend to make things for each other. They'll set up a little, restaurant or something that they, and I think sometimes we confuse true, like, imagination and pretend, like, is something that children don't acquire until later, because most of what they're acting out is something that they've already seen, and that's their way of making sense of it. So they're more, that's why symbolic play seemed like such a better term for that, because what they're doing symbolizes something they've seen, and it's how they're processing the information and solidifying it in their own minds.
Yeah. Right. That makes so much sense. Like, that's kind of what I was trying to say. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't find it, like, anywhere. I'm looking everywhere. I can't find it. I one time saw something. I can't even think of what to call it. An observation about one of the little wooden discs, and a teacher talking about everything that little wooden disc had been. And it was everything from a cucumber slice to someone was using it as a piece of a telephone, to all these different things. And she was comparing it to if it was one of those little plastic pieces that looks like a cucumber slice, how limiting that might be, which is not to say that a young child might not use that for something else. But she was just kind of showing the potential of that little plain wooden disc to be so many things. And that really kind of clicked for me a little bit.
I've seen that too, and that's a great example. Like, another example that I can think of is, like, in Waldorf they have dolls. The dolls don't have faces, and that's so that the children kind of, because they want it to be an open-ended material, and not and so when you put a face on it, you limit the child's imagination, and the child can put any face on that doll. And I don't know, I want to be really careful about discouraging pretend, like, like, I don't know how to I want to be diplomatic, but at the same time, like, I think that so, like, the children turn little cylinders into people. Like, I've seen them if you've been into the preschool, or many of you are primary, and they become people and they become families, and that's not play that I discourage. I know that that's maybe not consistent with Montessori, with the way some people practice, but children, I might go back and represent, but especially in infant and toddler, they will turn things into other things, and it is okay that they're doing that. I would hate to stop a child from, let me show you how. If they're hurting it, like, they should have the freedom to do what they want to do.
Mercedes, what you were just saying was kind of reminiscent of, like, I know it's kind of different versus like how I raise my child and how I teach in the classroom. But like, for example, whenever I have grandparents or aunts and uncles asking, you know, what Ruby wants for Christmas, I really encourage them not to use, like, for example, like battery operated toys or toys that don't that only let them be played with in one way. And not only that, but also encourage them to be passive participants in the play versus active participants. So I tend to agree with what you were saying. Like if a child's playing with a little cylinder and they want to make it a person, like I'm going to encourage that or let it happen, as opposed to trying to stop them and saying, oh, cylinders are for stacking or whatever, because I think it is really important to allow them to grow their exploration like that and their imagination. But I am careful about, you know, what manipulatives in the classroom or what toys are Ruby's given, because I don't want her to have to sit and watch a toy, like a little dog do backflips. You know, like that's to me, that's just kind of like a babysitter, you know, and like I would rather have her, I would rather have her, sorry, she's distracting me. I would rather have her thinking and creating, even if it is nonsensical. It isn't nonsensical to her, you know?
Right.
Now she's like, I want that dog that does backflips.
Yeah, really.
Does that help to clarify, Rashani?
I think so. So in other words, like it's safe to say that we can have all these, as long as the children are using open-ended materials, it's like we can pretty much have them in the language area, and if the children are using it, it's totally fine then. Because I'm definitely like turned on by the fact that we can do this in the classroom, like something that I was like so happy to see. I just want to use the right terminology and bring it out to my directors and to the owners and bring it into our classrooms, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to contact me, if you want to email me like some of the materials that you're kind of looking at, then we can talk more. We can talk about the specific things that you're thinking about bringing in. But you know, I would just say that, like, I'm happy to help you with that. I mean,
thank you so much. Yeah.
We have, I mean, we don't have a distinction between like, this is the Montessori classroom where you do your Montessori work and then you go into this other classroom where you play with toys. We have, you know, in our preschool, it really is mostly the didactic materials with a couple, whatever, toys. But in the toddler classroom, there's a really big, you know, I don't have those battery powered things or anything like that, but there's, but, you know, there's, I'm trying to think, I don't know, like Play-Doh, you know, like we use Play-Doh and we use it with the kitchen objects. And, you know, they make burritos and they pretend to give me coffee. And I'm like, oh, what delicious coffee. And, you know, did you roast this? You know, so we, and I've had other teachers tell me that that's not consistent with Montessori. And I'm like, well, you know, in my school it is. So yeah. Good for you. I don't confidence. That not I mean, you know, we're talking like I don't know, like I don't want to shut somebody down, be like, oh, you know, I'm too good for your Play-Doh coffee or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I mean, but when you're talking infant toddler, they literally like don't make Montessori materials for toddlers. There is no such thing. And if you go on like Allison Montessori's website and look it up, they're going to give you primary materials dumbed down for toddlers.
Right.
Knob cylinders cut in half. Like, so you have to come up with your own and you have like, I don't know. I guess I lost my train of thought a little, but like literally, like you have to be creative and you have to let them make their own decisions with materials as long as they're not being destructive and, you know, disruptive.
And because it's that sensitive period for language, all of the things you described, Mercedes, are language opportunities. You're modeling language. You're modeling reciprocal communication. You know, those are pivotal.
Well, and like grace and courtesy, right? One of the things I read Eugenia, it was Eugenia's, wrote one of her lessons was like, oh, thank the child for spending time with you. And I was like, that's such a good reminder, those grace and courtesies. Oh, right, why we're here. Thank you, child, for letting me give you this lesson. I don't know. It just really touched me. I thought it was really beautiful. And kind of the same, that like we have to take every opportunity to capitalize on that grace and courtesy, to lay that foundation. And language is a huge piece of that. So I did watch Tracy's videos, which I thought were excellent. Did you guys?
I love her.
Isn't she the best? I know, you guys. She's so great. I know. She's really, and she's just a wonderful person. I think I told you we met at the conference in Florida, and then we were on the same flight to Chicago, and we totally were like at the conference, and then she was literally like two rows back, and like I felt really bad for the people in between us. Although somebody should have asked to switch seats, I think. But I was like, since y'all didn't offer us to change seats, you're going to have to just listen to us. So anyway, I loved her, she definitely, her videos were so great. And I wanted to add just like two things that I thought of when I was watching them that might be helpful, because they've come up for us in our classrooms. When, my teacher, that I train, my mentee or whatever, he would be like, oh, this is not a good place for this material, so I'm just going to move it over here. And I'm like, you can't do that, because the children will want to continue to put it back in the first place. So if you want to move it, you got to take it off the shelf for a little while and then put it back, and then maybe even in a different tray or a different basket, because they'll just continue to try and put it back where it was before. So, and then the other thing is that when Tracy talked a lot about shelf organization, but one of the things that I think is important to remember is making sure that when you, I really like shelves where there's 3 works on the top and then 3 works in the middle and 3 works on the bottom, and there's a lot of space in between, so that when one work comes off, it's really clear that there's something that goes there. And if you guys already talked about this, I apologize. They're just things that she didn't cover. So I wanted to make sure.
I think we did.
Okay, cool. And then, so this is the other thing, is that I typically don't have subject areas in my toddler classroom, and that honors the child in the unconscious absorbent mind, right? Because they're going to see that space on the shelf, and ideally they're going to return a work to that space on the shelf. And then if that shelf contains all language materials or all sensorial materials or all concept development or whatever, then they're most likely just going to choose a child will put the thing back, and then they'll take the thing that's right next to it. And if everything is the same on the shelf, then they're not getting multiple impressions. And I've realized the more I train, the more that's not how I have my training, and my trainer was awesome, and that made a lot of sense to me. And so that's how I've always organized my classrooms, and I've kind of come up I realize now that that's unusual. So that people typically want to organize their, this is our, we typically group our practical life in one place, because it's the place where we can spill a lot of water. But otherwise, it's a good mixture of things. I don't have here's my sensorial shelf, and here's my language shelf, and here's my math shelf. And I guess I was curious about how you organize, and what direction you've gotten from your, training.
I prefer to organize my classroom based on where it makes the most sense to have certain materials. Like you said, practical life is almost always in the kitchen area, because you can spill and it's easy to clean up. But I have some sensorial materials in my kitchen area right now, because I got rid of my big sensory table, because it was one of those materials that you want to chuck out the window because it's just a problem. And I have little individual sensory bins on the shelf. But it's something that I want to keep in the kitchen, because it requires a lot of sweeping up and a lot of cleaning up a lot. But it's not necessarily but I guess it could be practical life because there is like a spoon and a bowl in one of them, scooping, pouring, so that does make sense as well. But I do know that when we got ready for our practicum, one of the things that they said we needed to have was specific curriculum, like specific areas, specific learning areas. And I was like, oh crap, I got to fix this. So I did change it, and it's been okay, it's fine. But for the most part, I just make sure the materials in that specific area are able to be in that area of the environment as well. Like it still makes sense. But I have a few things that are probably still not quite in. But also I feel like the materials in the toddler classroom overlap so much in many different areas that it could work in more than one area.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with that. I think anything that's like one-to-one correspondence, like a puzzle, could be in math. It could be, or concept development. We don't really do math in the, right? We don't call it math. But yeah, I mean, you have things that can go in multiple locations. And so as long as we're consistent, right, and as long as we're really clear about our rationale, I think that, that's what's important. So. Oh my gosh. So we have 4 minutes, and I've got like 17 more prompts that I didn't get to, but that's okay. Any last requests?
I have a question.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to know what would you do? We have like a little girl. She's 20 months old, and she's on our toddlers class, of course. But the thing is that I don't think she's ready for that class. But I think she's too old to be in infants. She's going to be 2 years in April. Yeah.
Right.
So
she's like a senior citizen in the infant classroom.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that she doesn't work. She doesn't engage in any material. I don't know, things that are like the tray falls down to the floor and she waits for us to pick it up. She doesn't work only if the teacher is next to her. She talks, but she doesn't talk in the class. She only talks when she's with the smaller children, and so on. I don't think she's ready. And today, I made this experiment to put her in infants class to see what happened. And she changed drastically. She started talking to the smaller babies. She started moving, working. She even seemed happier. So my question is, what should we do in this case? I don't know what it is. I don't think there's like a development issue, but I really don't know what to do. So,
are you allowed to have her in the infant class?
Yeah, that's one of my...
Well, I am the one who allows it, so it's up to me. So,
well, I just mean regulation-wise, if the age is if she's too old.
No, that's...
I would totally put her in there and put some materials up higher that the small ones can't reach that are a little more advanced for a child her age, and see if she engages.
That I didn't like is that she started like imitating the
babies,
8 months old and the 10 months. Yeah, so that's.
I know. It's hard. It's hard. It's a hard. When did she start? When did she start in your toddler classroom?
Well, we just started like a month ago. Yeah, in February. Yeah.
So, and she's a new student. She came to you new.
She was in infants last year with us.
Okay.
For 6 months.
Okay. And then so when, maybe she needs a longer transition from the infant room into the toddler room. If you have that kind of flexibility, you want, I don't know, like I want her to get what she needs from the environment, but at the same time, I might I don't want to use the word push her, but I might want to support her, like lead her towards greater development, which will happen in the toddler classroom. So if you can kind of go back to the infant room and then start to do a longer transition into the toddler room, maybe that would be, give her that confidence, that she needs, because it sounds like she's a lot more confident with the younger children than she is with the older children, and that she's able to, I think sometimes those infants go into the toddler community and they're like a deer in the headlights, and you're like, wow, what happened? You used to babble, you used to talk, and then it's just so much. I think they're just really taking it all in. And I think that's okay. But if you want, you could slow down that transition, give her that, esteem boost being in the with the younger children, and then slowly move her into the toddler community. We do like little visits in the morning, but the children still take their naps and, in the infant room, and we just kind of move. Takes a couple weeks. We do visits, and then they stay outside, and then they go to lunch. And so it's just this really slow transition. And maybe that would help her.
Okay. Thank you.
Poor thing. Anybody else have any ideas about that?
I was going to say, would it be worthwhile to observe her in the infant classroom and see what kinds of material she's gravitating towards, and see if any of those might be appropriate to bring into the toddler classroom?
Great
to
idea.
help transition? Like if she really likes a wagon or something, and maybe there's not a wagon in the toddler classroom.
Today she was like, we have like this gym. She was in the gym for like 10 minutes, up and down and climbing, and and she was also, we have like the bridge, and she was moving over the bridge, and then she started like following the babies and crawling like them, and I don't know, but it was like she was there like 30 minutes, not too much. But I'll see what happens tomorrow.
Keep us posted. All right. Okay, guys, it's 6:30. I feel like we could go for another hour at least. But that's it. So I love your faces, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Okay.
Bye.
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 Have a good week.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How do I get out of here?
Oh.